Good afternoon. I'm Bonnie Browning, and I want to welcome you to today's AQS Guild Buzz with Bonnie. This is a program that we're doing every Wednesday at 3 in the afternoon, Central Daylight Time, and our program is sponsored by Janome America. And my guest today is Janice Ewing from the Empire Quilters Guild out of New York. Welcome.
Hi, how are you today?
I'm good. Well, we know the quilters are just doing all kinds of things, and we decided we would do this program so that guild members could share what they do and maybe share some ideas that another guild could pick up. So let's start by learning a little bit about the Empire Quilters.
We were founded in 1982 by a very small group of people who met in their apartment in Brooklyn in New York City, and they established the guild and grew and grew and grew, so that now we have about 250 members. We meet every month and have speakers, and there are several different activities that go on before the business part of the meeting, and then the speaker does a program, and then we have other parts of the meeting typical of a guild meeting, and show and tell. And we do something a little different. We have our little parade of all the charity quilts that have been turned in that day.
Oh, wow.
And so before that, people would put them on the charity table and then they disappear. And this way they get walked all the way around. We meet in a church, and so it's a pretty big sanctuary. And so it's a pretty long walk all the way down, around and up. And it's really nice to be able to show the quilts and share the generosity of all the members of the guild. It's inspiring also because people get very excited about some of them.
Well, and show and tell to me is always one of the best parts of the guild meeting, when you get to see what fabrics they've used and what color they've used and what they've finished. I don't know about you, but sometimes it's a long time between putting a binding on a finished quilt till I do another one.
Oh, yes. Well, during this pandemic, I've finished 10 or 12 of my UFOs, that some of which were started when I still lived in Rhode Island, which is more than 11 years ago. So,
well, good for you. I think a lot of people are taking advantage of this time to do that same thing of cleaning up some of those projects that we've started. Sometimes when we put them down, there just might be something that just didn't quite sit right with you, so you put it away. And so did you find when you brought those back that they looked like new quilts again?
Yes. Well, and you might not have had the right fabric for the border to make it, to fill out the size or to finish it off. And that's the thing that I have found, is that with more fabric now, the UFOs go faster. I must admit that I have this little stash in my garage that has come in very handy finishing UFOs, because I can go out and find something, because it's for a charity quilt. It can, I just take advantage of what I've got.
Okay, so tell us then, you're doing a lot of charity work. Tell us where you do get the fabric that you use for those quilts.
We've been very fortunate. Phillips Van Heusen, the men's dress shirt company, has donated a lot of fabric to us. Most of it's cotton. Some of it, we've gotten the silk tie fabric, and I have the backing on one of my quilts here is the silk tie. You can't really see it, however, so, but that's one place. With a couple of other companies, Liberty of London actually gave us a batch of fabric, and that was tricky to work with because it's very fine.
Yes.
But it worked beautifully with the shirting fabric, which is also.
Oh, did it? Oh, sure, it would too.
Yeah, we had some spectacular quilts there. And other manufacturers have given us quilts. Sometimes it is better than other times because we get a little bit too much of the discards of the upholstery and home deck fabric, and that's limited use. But that comes in handy for our Christmas projects or holiday gift projects where we have the stockings and the gift bags.
Show us what you're doing for your Christmas projects.
We make stockings, and these go for children, and we fill them. Last year we filled over 200 stockings.
Wow, and that home deck fabric would work really well for those, wouldn't
Yes,
it?
it does. And then for the younger children, we asked how many kids of each age group they have, and that way we know what to put in, because you don't want to be giving a novel to a 2-year-old, obviously. Yeah. And then we make these gift bags, which are just a drawstring bag, and that way we feel like the teenagers will prefer this over a stocking that has much more limited use. And we've had some really nice denim. There was a company called, design company called Nick and Nora, and they gave us the most fascinating, fabulous kids fabrics and denims and so on. And so those were really nice for that kind of thing. And plus some of the, we've had Marcus Brothers gave us a really nice batch of slightly heavier fabric that has been very, very helpful for the gift bags. And then one of the more popular items, and every one of those 200 stockings had a little stuffed animal in it. And many of the stuffed animals actually come in a little pocket. And we have a little bag, I don't have one here, but we have it in a little bag so you could store your stuffy and tuck it in at night with you. And the kids really love these little things.
Sure, and they're pretty too, nice colors.
And you can use almost any fabric for them. We tend to use the cottons, but if you have a little bit of like a plush fabric, those are really nice too. And,
right.
And some of the velvets and satins that we get from the various companies have worked really well too. The other place we get a lot of fabric is people who have decided they're no longer going to quilt. And I don't know about you, I'm sure you are no different than the rest of us.
I have a room full.
I had to walk in closets, and we had to build shelves in my sewing room to accommodate the boxes of fabric that I had. Because every time I wanted something, I had to pull out the boxes, and they were stacked up. This way they're on shelves, and so you only have to take out the one you want. You don't have to take the 5 that are on top of it to get to the one at the bottom. And so anyway, when people are ill or pass away, or they just decide, I'm not doing this anymore, they call up, they contact the guild, and the guild contacts me, and I go pick it up. And that has been very interesting. I have had to go to some very interesting places to pick up fabric, and I have gotten some a wide variety of fabrics. Unfortunately, one of our very long-term members just passed away, and she had a shop.
Oh my.
We got hundreds of bolts, partial bolts, as well as UFOs and scraps.
Well, so that's great when your guild members are making those quilts. Now, I know you do a lot for Project Linus too, right?
Yes. I have, well, I had given them a bunch of quilts. And so one day, the woman that I gave the quilts to called me up and said, can you use some fabric? And so I said, sure. And so she said, okay, we'll send you some. And they sent us 65 bolts of fabric, which I have shared with everybody I can find here in the New York City metropolitan area. And this minion fabric, there's one that's a panel, which I don't have here, but nobody wants to use the minion panels. So we've cut them up and made log cabins out of them. And so that you can't really see.
It is, and the yellow kind of draws your eye away from it too.
Right, and the yellow says Project Linus on it. And so a couple of months ago, one of our guild members made some 35 Project Linus fabric pillowcases, all of which went to Project Linus. They were quite thrilled to get those.
So does somebody embroider Project Linus on it, or is it printed on the fabric?
The yellow has it printed on the fabric.
Really? I have not seen that.
Yeah, it's Project Linus, and there's a little picture of Charlie Brown holding his blanket.
His blankie, huh?
Yeah. And so that's what I was expecting to get when I got the fabric. And so it was half Linus and half the project, the Minion fabric. But fortunately the blue and the yellow go together. And so if you cut it up, you can make nice quilts.
It's, you know what, we can make lemonade out of lemons, can't we, sometimes?
Absolutely, absolutely. It doesn't really make much difference. We've even gotten men's suiting and the wool, and the worsted wool from Phillips Van Heusen suiting was so fine.
Oh my, that would be lovely.
I throw it in the washing machine as I do the silk. And I just throw it in the washing machine, and then I use it as backs, or I cut it up into squares and make quilts out of it.
Well, and then if it were going to do any shrinking, you would have already shrunk the fabric down for both of those kinds of fabric, wouldn't you?
Exactly. And occasionally one piece doesn't come through quite as well as the rest of them. And so then you just throw those pieces away.
Right.
And so I tell everybody to because I don't wash it before I give it away. I just wash it before I use it.
Right.
And tell everybody to make sure you wash it to see what happens. And people have made jackets and totes and everything out of all these different fabrics. It's wonderful.
It's
Most of it goes to charity. The jackets, of course, they keep for themselves or give as gifts, but the totes and the stockings are wonderful. Now, I'm a long arm quilter while we're waiting. And so I get the tops, and then I take them out to my long arm and I quilt them for the guild.
Okay.
And so the reason I have quite so many quilts here is that these are all the quilts that I have quilted for the guild that other people have made. Of course, I make some too, but
Sure.
It means that I always have a stack of quilts. So
to be quilted.
Non-contact environment, I didn't have to say, oh my gosh, I don't have any quilts. What am I going to show to Johnny? I just said, okay, I just pull out those. So most of these still need binding because my arthritis got really bad when I was.
So then does somebody else do the binding for you?
I have to. I can't do it anymore. The first couple of years, I did maybe 50 quilts and I bound every one of them.
Oh, wow. So we're going to take a minute now and have a word from our sponsor, Janome America.
Be sure to contact your local Janome dealer about the Continental M7 and my complete ruler package today.
Welcome back to AQS Guild Buzz with Bonnie, and my guest is Janice Ewing from the Empire Quilters from New York. And I want to tell you a little bit about this quilt hanging back behind me. We get quilts in here at the AQS office, and they come in for the magazine or they come in for the quilt engagement calendar. And so sometimes we get to borrow them to share with you all. And so this quilt is called Paradise of Birds, and it was made by Lori Allison and Mary Shotwell. And some of you may recognize Lori Allison. She has a vendor booth called All About Color, and she carries a lot of K-facet fabrics, and you'll see that they've used stripes and small prints and big prints all in this beautiful quilt. Thank you to Mary and Lori for sharing that quilt with us. And you never know what we're going to have hanging behind Bonnie's head here as we do these programs. I want to take just a minute to tell you a little bit about the sewing machine that Janome America is providing for a drawing for our Guild Buzz. And it is called the Janome HD9 Professional. It's a machine that's worth $2,300. And so I hope that you'll go to quiltweek.com/guildbuzz, and you'll find the form there to register for the free sewing machine. You also will find a survey that we change periodically, so every time you come in and watch a program, you might go check and see if you've already answered that survey. And we have some other things that are just ideas for quilt guilds, from working with Quilts of Valor, the 1 million pillowcase challenge that American Patchwork and Quilting, we've been working with them on that this year, and there's a video to show you how to make a pillowcase if you don't know how to do that. I have a sister that followed that video, and I think she's made about 50 pillowcases now, because everybody, oh, they don't want just one, they want two. So you might keep that in mind as you're making those pillowcases. And also, there's a video on there about making fidget quilts for Alzheimer patients. And that's a project we do with our guild in Daytona Beach. And we've done a video so that you can kind of see what that project is all about. Now, I know we've been making masks, and I'm sure your guild has been making masks, but what else have you been doing to meet during this time when we have the COVID virus that we are not able to get together?
We make our masks, and we have done a lot of Zoom. So the president and our treasurer, I guess she is, they have set up these Zoom meetings, and we meet, and they get a speaker from just the regular speaker list. A lot of them have developed programs that they can do on Zoom.
Wow, that's wonderful.
And we had a really fine one last month on the history of cotton. And I should have written down her name because I don't have it in front of me and I can't remember it, but it was fabulous. She did a wonderful job. I highly recommend it. And we have another one scheduled for next month. In addition to that, our president, Gretchen Peacock, has been sending us little emails about once every 10 days or maybe every week. And in the email, she has a project and she has pictures, and we send her photographs of the quilts we've made and other tips and things to entice people to work on something interesting and new and different. And those fidget quilts remind me that we have actually done that, and that would be a fabulous project to be doing in this time, because you'd be using up all those odd, weird things that you don't.
Little trims and buttons and all kinds of things. Yes, it does use a lot of different things that are touchy-feely.
I had a friend who ended up in a mental health facility before he passed away, and I sent him a quilt with, it didn't have a bunch of buttons and things on it, but it had the fabric that you could stroke, because I thought that would be good. And so that's another kind of project that I'm going to send those into Gretchen so she can put that in the next newsletter.
Well, yes, and I know that at the show when we do that in Daytona Beach, they sew zippers on top so that they can just pull on the zipper and, do that hand motion. They tie strings and maybe put buttons or keys or something like that on so that they have something that they can jingle jangle. It uses lots of different things. They put like a ribbon they would put on it with a couple empty spools that you could play with then on the fidget quilts. So there's just lots of things that we maybe otherwise would throw away that we can use on that kind of a quilt.
Well, I'm going to suggest that we, remind people to do those, because I think when you have a project like that, you make them and then you go on to the next thing. And sometimes you don't remember to go back to those, and that's a great idea.
All right, now you know that AQS has canceled all of our shows for this fall. We canceled Lancaster at the Nook, the September show, the rescheduled dates for Paducah, Grand Rapids, and Charleston. But we have to plan months and months ahead for many of the things that we use for our shows, and that includes t-shirts and tote bags. And so I just want everybody to know that this is Lancaster, and you can buy these on our website. It's AQS, shopaqs.com. And so we've got the pin and also our button that we use for our members. And then for Paducah, we have the pin and the button. But for Paducah, we always do the catalog of show quilts. And these are all 405 or 6 quilts that are juried into the show. This has to be put into place many months before the show for us to be able to get it printed. But it's available both in the book form and also as a DVD. And that too is available on shopaqs.com. And then, I don't know about you, but I love this Paducah tote bag. First of all, it has a zipper on the front. It has another zipper on the back. It has a zipper on the top and a zippered container on the inside. Wouldn't this make a great beach bag?
That's
Looks
fabulous.
perfect. It's perfect for a beach bag. That too is available on shopaqs.com. So I want to thank you, Janice, for being with us today. And we want to thank Janome America. And I understand you have a Janome machine.
Yes, my very expensive other machine, who shall remain nameless, broke down, and I was in the middle of a project that required a good heavy-duty machine. And I whipped out my Gem Gold, which is, I bought it in Rhode Island, so it's 15 years old, and it whipped through that like soft butter. It was just wonderful, and I use it, and it's very nice and light, and goes with me to all of our monthly charity nights, and it goes with me to the March charity event that we have every year. And so it's really a wonderful machine. I recommend it to a lot of people.
So there you go, folks. You have firsthand testimony on Janome sewing machines. We want to thank you all for joining us today, and we'll be right back here again next Wednesday at 3 p.m. Central Time. Can't wait to see you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.